Hi, and welcome to Shelley's Everyday Adventures. I'm here to share with you how to use the vacuum sealer. I bought this vacuum sealer and I had no clue really how to use it, but I wanted to use it to seal things that I had dehydrated in my dehydrator. Put them in mason jars. And there's a whole process to this. First you dehydrate, then you take the mason jars and you wash them, dry them, and put them in the oven on 250 for about 15 minutes. That is to kill any germs or anything that might be in the jar, even get the water completely out. You want the jars to be completely dry before you put your dried goods in them. So, I purchased this, I think if I remember correctly, I paid $59 for it. And then I got this little piece here. This is an extra piece that goes with it. They're two different sizes. This is for the bigger jars, and this one, of course, is for the smaller jars. It fits this jar, and it fits these jars, okay? This one fits the gallon and the quart. Okay, so these are peas that I dried out just yesterday. It took about, I want to say 12 hours to dry out a bag of frozen peas. The frozen peas I picked up at Walmart. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for them, but anyway, I picked them up and I decided I needed room in my freezer for my meats because I had purchased some ground beef from the local butcher. So I took these out and I dehydrated them. I made sure the jar was clean and dry. Put it in here and I put the lid on, and then I just vacuum. You can hear it. It should stop on its own, and you wait until the light goes off. The lights go off. Taking a little more. Okay, there we go. So then you turn it off to open, and you gently pop the top off. Okay. The can is vacuum sealed. So no air can get in there, no moisture can get in there, and these dried peas, if they are dried properly, can last for years. And again, you can put them in soups, you can put them in stews, you can even boil them and they will rehydrate and you can eat them. This is long-term storage. Why I talk about long-term storage so much is because prices are getting so expensive, people are having a hard time affording food. So you buy what you can, you buy a little extra every time you go to the grocery store, whether it's $5 worth of extra, $10 worth of extra, $20, whatever you can afford, a little bit extra, and put it back. And don't use it. When you run out, you put it in a separate place. I have a prepper pantry that I keep my stuff in, so it's separate from the food that we eat regularly. Now, when I run out, I buy more. And what I do when I buy more, I put it in the prepper pantry and I take out the older stuff. That way it's constantly being rotated. When I get the cans, I put what's in them. Like for this one, I would write peas, and then I would put the date that I dried them. So you want to use the oldest date first. And you just keep putting the new dates in the back and pushing the older dates to the front. And it's a constant rotation. That way your food stays fresh. So I bought a bag of, these are onions and peppers, and I dehydrated them. I didn't seal this yet because I want to fill it up completely. So I got to go get another bag or two. I got this bag for $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to add to that. This is corn that I've done. And here's some celery. Celery. Whoa, almost dropped it. Celery, yes. Celery is good for, like I said, soups, stews, anything like that. But this dehydrator has come in quite handy. Now let me show you what else it can do. I don't have any bags with me, but the dehydrator, you take that off. That just comes right off. Okay? And you open it up. Now, in the dehydrator, we have the section that heats up, and then we have the section that does the suctioning. So you take the bag, the opening of the bag goes right in this tray right here, and you push this down and you turn it all the way up to operate, and you hit vacuum and seal, and that sucks the bag down. And when all the air is sucked out of the bag, then the heat from this right here, this bar right here, seals the bag and keeps the air out. I have used this method for rice. I've used it for sugar. I've used it for flour. I've used it for, let's see, what else have I done? Sugar and flour and rice. Pasta. I've done pasta. Now you got to be careful about pasta because pasta is very hard, and it has, some of the pastas have points or sharpness to them, and it can puncture the bag, and so you got to be careful about that. But pastas, okay. But I always, for the rice and the flour, not the sugar, but the rice and the flour and the pastas, I put in the freezer for 24 to 48 hours, and that is to, I know this sounds really gross, but I got to be completely honest with you. Flour products do tend to draw bugs. They're called weevils, and they live in flour. Flour is a raw product. It is not cooked. It's raw. It's the flour. The flour is ground up from wheat berries and put in bags to be sold. Now, it's ground up, but that doesn't stop the eggs from being in there. And if the eggs are in there, then the eggs will hatch. And I know, sounds gross. I'm with you. But we've all eaten them. So what you do is you put the flour after you've bagged it up, or before, it doesn't matter, you can do it either way, into your freezer for 24 to 48 hours, and you won't have any problem with that. That's only if you're storing it for long term. Now, I recommend that you do store up some flour for long term, simply because we are getting ready, or we are already in, a flour shortage. Flour is, it's a wheat shortage, excuse me. It's more of a wheat shortage. It's not flour necessarily. So wheat. Canada had a bad crop. The United States has had a bad crop of winter wheat. They're not exporting from Hungary, Russia, or Ukraine. So I'm going to take my glasses off. It's a little distracting. So they're not exporting. So there's a lack of wheat, and wheat is in a lot of things. Wheat is in your breakfast cereals. Wheat is in your bread. Wheat is in your flour. Wheat is, there's a lot of things that have wheat. Pancake mixes have wheat. And then also grains. So there's going to be a shortage of grains as well, and that would be oatmeal. If you like oatmeal, I recommend that you go to the Dollar Tree and buy the quick oatmeal. It's $1.25 for a nice little bag. I have a couple of them just set back because I like to have oatmeal for breakfast on occasion. But anyway, that's what I do with my vacuum sealer. I recommend that you have one. You don't have to, but I do recommend it. It's come in quite handy. Like I said, I've got corn here, celery, onions and peppers, and peas. And those, they'll last for several years. And can be used in soups and stews and just even rehydrated and eaten. I wanted to give you a little bit of information on grain and wheat. I don't know if you're aware of this, but 33% of our grains and wheat come from Ukraine and Russia. It's, again, as I said, the wheat is in breakfast cereals, bread, tortillas, and grains, oatmeal, and then pastas. Okay? So you might want to think about putting some of this stuff away because prices are going to go through the roof if you can find it. I'm not sure if you've been in your local grocery store and taken a good look, but pastas are difficult to find. There's another video on my channel where I show the pasta section. None of the Great Value pasta was in. All they had were, all they had were the name brands, which I don't mind, but it wasn't much of a name brand. I mean, it wasn't much of that product there. So it's going to be a problem for everybody if we don't kind of put some back. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was, yes, so we've had failed crops, failed harvests. China loses 50% of its winter wheat. China has stored up over 70% of the world's corn supply. So they know something's coming. They know that they're going to need food, and they're storing it up. There's an export ban in Ukraine, Hungary, and Russia. Those three are responsible for our grains and wheats, 33% of them. And Ukraine is big for sunflower, so we get sunflower oil. So you might think about cooking oil being a problem. Soybeans in Argentina, they've had the lowest soybean harvest in over 14 years. They've lost over 50% of that harvest. So this is something to think about. It's food for thought. Brazil has lost 15% of its soybean harvest. Argentina is the second largest corn exporter in the world, and there are no numbers coming out for that just yet. The only thing they will say is it's not looking good for their corn harvest. There's a drought in the center of their country where most of their corn is grown. So the United Kingdom, their crops are down by 50%. However, they're not an exporter, but that still can be a problem because they're going to need to buy more food from other places. The U.S., their winter wheat last year was down 10%. So we got a problem with that. I come from a farming family. My family, we started out in dairy. My grandfather moved here in 1924. They bought a farm, and we've been here on this farm since then. We started out milking cows, growing chickens and selling eggs and different things. Then my grandfather passed away. He left it to my father, and my father and myself and my sister milked cows up until September of 2012. When it got so bad that we weren't making enough money to make ends meet, we ended up selling the cows, and my father went to grain farming. Now, I was just talking to him, and he's having a big problem with the price of things. Fertilizer has gone, I want to say through the roof, but it's tripled, quadrupled. I mean, it's amazing, the cost. Luckily, he bought it at last year's prices and was able to get it. But next year, it's going to be a big problem. So the fertilizer and the herbicides, the Roundup. When he used to buy Roundup for $60 a gallon, it's now, what did he say? It's $900 a gallon? It's incredible. I don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. But he said his total bill for Roundup to protect his crops from weeds and stuff was costing him $10,000. $10,000 just for one product. So you got to think about this. They have to pass the price on to you. So we have that. Probably a little overwhelming, but it's something for everyone to think about. I'm going to do another video and talk about Plan A and Plan B, and I want to show you the crops that we are getting ready to grow in our garden. But anyway, I want you to think about that. I want you to consider dehydrating. I want you to consider the vacuum sealing. It works awesomely. And you can pick up this stuff at Walmart. Walmart has the vacuum sealers. Walmart has the dehydrators. As of yesterday when I was in there, they had them. So you might want to consider prepping and putting a little food away. I'm not hoarding. I do not believe in hoarding. I do not take everything off the shelves. What I believe in is buying a little bit each time I go so that I leave stuff for others. I am not here to scare you. I am not here to tell you the world is coming to an end. I am here to tell you that prices are getting higher, which you can see for yourself, and food is going to get scarce. You need to prepare for yourself and your family, and you need to do it now. God bless and have a beautiful day. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe.